Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Oh, you know it's a good day when it's time to watch one of the greatest dynamic duos in cinema. If you're an animation fan, then there's a good chance that you know who they are. Ever since their debut in A Grand Day Out, Wallace and Gromit not only played a major role in making Aardman a household animation name, but also became one of the greatest examples of British animation and the medium of stop motion. Not to mention how they invent their way into awards where their adventures always find themselves in those competitions, even walking out with a couple of Oscars for The Wrong Trousers and A Close Shave. And as they place themselves as cartoon icons in their own right, where some could consider them the English versions of Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, it was only a matter of time that the duo took a leap out of their short-form comfort zone and star in their own full-length feature film. Now, before we begin, I just want to state that I am definitely a Wallace and Gromit fan. I always have a great time and find myself so engaged with these shorts, especially with my personal favorite, A Close Shave, and I even highly enjoy the Shaun the Sheep spin-off films. I won't lie, and I'll say it now. I remember watching this movie on the big screen when it came out back in 2005, and I had a blast when watching the film. But admittedly, it's been quite a long time since I've revisited this curse, so this will be like a weird combination of coming in fresh and feeling like I'll be revisiting an old friend. Hard to explain, but you know what I mean, right? So now that the anti-pesto duo is reporting for duty, is the movie actually more of a blessing than a curse? Or is this a bigger pest than the were-rabbit itself? Let's find out. The story. In tradition of the shorts, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is a combination of suspense and comedy. While there is a thrilling element to grab the audience's attention to show that there is much more to its simple exterior, the humor never takes itself seriously and covers the whole story with some lighthearted fun, thus creating the unique charm of Wallace and Gromit. In the case of The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, it is a parody of classic horror films and monster movies, where the two have to save the town from a terrifying beast, which in this case is a were-rabbit threatening to ruin the giant vegetable competition. I'll say right now that what the movie does best is to be a parody, taking the tropes that are regularly found in these types of features and presenting them in a more ridiculous manner, where instead of a scary monster taking away lives, it's a giant bunny that's eating prized vegetables, complete with the types of characters that can be found in these films like the mad scientist, the villainous human hunter, and the religious man who warns everyone about the supernatural creature.
And for our sins, a hideous creature has been sent to punish us all. Repent! Repent!
In a way, the movie is like one big joke, but it's a joke that works so well with how it plays out, just like those old films. The whole town takes the giant vegetable competition so seriously, and their biggest danger is a bear-sized rabbit that can eat a whole garden in a matter of seconds. The comedy speaks for itself with how it's the vegetables that are at risk here. Also, I'd like to add that the comedy in general is fantastic. It's already enough that the parody aspect is hilarious in itself, but the movie is also filled with gags to make this consistently a fun watch from beginning to end. Of course, as an animated film with a more British sense, there is a variety of jokes with the characters' personalities, but most of the humor revolve around visual comedy, playing around with the backgrounds, and especially the vegetables, to cleverly emphasize the mood of the moment.
Hasn't there been enough destruction? I believe the killing of...
And yet, while it is a parody of horror films, it unironically works well as a horror film itself. The way that it's parodying them doesn't feel cynical at all, and it's never meant for the purpose of making fun of them. It's noticeable that it's doing so out of love, and they're making a more humorous version of those tropes because the filmmakers know that they still work to this day. Yes, the vegetable situation is a little goofy, but the movie is still as suspenseful as an actual horror flick. Along with the comedy, that element keeps you engaged to see the were-rabbit situation unfurl. Where the source of the problem is, how close they could be to capturing it, and how would they be able to solve it. In a way, it's a parody that partly becomes what it's parodying, but it does so excellently to have the viewer fully engage in the adventure. As great as it worked in the shorts, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit proves that Wallace and Gromit's storytelling formula is also an amazing recipe for a feature film. The animation. As Wallace and Gromit found themselves in a bigger adventure, this also meant that their animation had to be scaled up significantly. Considering that the team at Aardman just finished off Chicken Run when they started on the Were-Rabbit, they were more than well equipped to make the duo's tale grander than their trip to the moon. Of course, one priority is to keep Nick Park's signature style. A simple look that uses basic shapes to create the characters, along with the noticeably big mouth and round eyes. And yet, with that simplicity, it leaves a lot of room for the characters to be openly expressive and sell their emotions very well, along with using that template to create a whole town's worth of unique-looking people. But more than any other character, the best use of this design is Gromit. This may sound like a big statement, but Gromit is possibly the greatest stop-motion character from an animation perspective. This is a silent character who never talks, and even his body is debatably the simplest looking of them all. And yet, he's also the most expressive with a complex personality and his own wants and needs. Regardless if he's on 4 legs or 2, he's full of life, and you can tell exactly what he is thinking in any situation. It's primarily through his animation that completely convinces you that Gromit is both Wallace's dog and his best friend. But that's already something that they've mastered through the shorts. The main challenge for this feature is when the rabbits come in. One admirable aspect to note is how well the backgrounds and sets are created, developing this entire town where everyone has a passion for growing vegetables and even competing against one another to have the biggest of them all. On top of the different areas that had to be built, including Toddington Hall, there is a massive amount of detail put into the gardens, both having all of them organized in each household, and when having them destroyed when the were-rabbit comes along for his feast. Speaking of which, the were-rabbit himself is also a stop-motion marvel. Very rarely do you find furry creatures in the medium, especially when their fur is a nightmare for animators. But the team at Aardman found a way to craft the beast to make him look consistently fuzzy and still have the ability to squash and stretch as he's on his rampage. A stark difference compared to the other rabbits that have their own comical style, but still works very well to have him stand out and making him feel really big, like he is the big boss of them all. Oh, and did I forget to mention that incredible transformation scene as we see Wallace slowly morph into the were-rabbit? But what can be the best contribution from the animation for this movie is the action scenes. Whenever the were-rabbit is on the loose, the movie ramps up the speed in order to become a lot more exciting, as the film's suspense also comes into play to increase the intensity to see if the guys could capture the rabbit or what could happen to them by the end, along with playing with the camera by moving it all around to show the action in motion. Not only does it take advantage of the large scale of the sets to present how big the moment is, but there's also an element of unpredictability where you never know what they'll do in order to resolve the situation, which really did help in creating the movie's epically chaotic finale.
Run, rabbit, run!
Aardman is often regarded by many as one of the masters of stop motion. And the animation of The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is one of the most honorary examples as to why. The characters. Now, some may be watching this and wonder, do you have to watch the shorts before watching the movie in case you may need some context to understand? And the answer to that is yes and no. No, because the movie does a great job filling you in on who Wallace and Gromit are as characters, while still highlighting their personalities that fans have grown to love over the years. However, I also say yes because, well, they're just amazing cartoons. I mean, if you're gonna watch The Were-Rabbit, why not also check out the shorts? They're really worth it. Anyways, when it comes to the characters themselves, they really do play a big role in making the feature a wonderful experience. Starting with our leading buddies, Wallace is the good-hearted eccentric inventor, always motivated to lend a hand to his community. In the movie, he uses his inventive mind to run Anti-Pesto, which removes rabbits from the neighborhood in a safe and humane way. However, he's also pretty clumsy at times, and his inventions don't always work as planned. Other times, they can result in some funny situations, but in this case, his wacky ideas ended up causing him to turn into a were-rabbit when exposed to moonlight, turning who used to be the solver of the town's problem into the biggest issue of them all.
The next thing you'll be saying is that, oh, Hutch is turning into me.
Then you have his companion Gromit. Like I said before, his animation as a silent character is so masterfully crafted that he doesn't need to speak in order to show how he's bursting with personality. In a way, Gromit is Wallace's straight man, technically the smart one of the two, where he doesn't get as absent-minded as his human comrade, and still takes part in his community as everyone else, where he also has his own interests like entering the giant vegetable competition. And yet, even if he's the more rationally thinking one, there is still the dog side of him who is loyal to Wallace. Even with all of the man's inconvenient flaws, he still loves him dearly and wants to make sure that he's okay in whatever mess he may find himself in. They truly define being a duo, where one cannot function without the other, and even when things get quite problematic, their love for one another is the key to resolving the issue they may have accidentally caused. And this heart is prominently strong in this feature as much as it is in the shorts.
Oh, whoops. Stick around, lad.
As for the other townsfolk that the two protect their veg, while they don't necessarily have a significant role that contributes heavily to the plot, some of them do have a moment in the spotlight to play with their personalities and at least contribute to the humor.
I have a hunch this'll be a night to remember.
I just have a hunch.
But the two significant residents outside of Wallace and Gromit are Lady Toddington and Victor Quartermain, voiced by Helena Bonham Carter and Ralph Fiennes respectively. Lady Toddington is more like the love interest to Wallace. As the head of the giant vegetable competition, she's the more selfless princess type that wants to keep her family's tradition alive to spice up her community and wants to make sure that nothing gets harmed, whether it be human, vegetable, or even animal. That's why she has a little thing for Wallace. With his kind of work at Anti-Pesto, he promotes some of her values, and that's what immediately captures her interest.
He's never shown any interest in my produce.
Oh, his loss, Lady Toddington.
Please, Wallace. Call me Totty.
And then there's Victor. In a way, he's more like the typical cartoony villain. A self-centered high-class snob with a fake toupee who takes pride in his hunting skills and only wants best for himself alongside his Muttley-like companion, Philip. He has an eye for Lady Toddington, but it's obvious that he only wants her for her fortune. And yet, with Wallace in the picture, he'll stop at nothing to make sure that he's no longer an obstacle for him. Again, a bit generic as a villain, but Fiennes' performance does help to make his cartoonishly evil nature enjoyable and even at times a bit threatening.
That's right, my lovely. You can say goodbye to your fluffy lover boy.
Usually, in the shorts, it would primarily be Wallace, Gromit, and a +1 or 2. In the movie, now it's a full cast of characters that feel like they both fit in the type of British town that the two reside in, and contribute their own personalities to complement the already fantastic leads. Yes, it's all about the vegetables, but it's the characters that know how to grow them and this movie. They were already considered legends with their cartoons alone. Not only did they enhance their legacy with the film, but they also ended up creating one of the best movies of its time. Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is not only among the best stop-motion animated films, but it is also one of the greatest animated features ever. Everything about it is so well made and highly enjoyable that it ultimately makes this a wonderful experience from beginning to end. The story is a heartfelt love letter to classic horror flicks, the humor makes this one of the best animated comedies, the suspense makes this additionally engaging, the action is exciting, the animation is amazing, and the characters are so charming, resulting in an unforgettably fun-filled experience. Of course, I consider this to be a must-watch. It's always a great time, but especially if you love those old horror movies like the classic Universal monsters, then this could become one of your favorites. And if you end up loving this movie or already love this movie, then may I suggest to subscribe to my channel? I get to talk about many great films like this, and you never know what I'll find that could be your next favorite. A Wallace and Gromit movie was already a great idea in itself, but the team at Aardman really went above and beyond to create a true masterpiece. And just like how its efforts got them an Oscar for Best Animated Feature, I will happily give this the AniMat seal of approval. Even by his standards, it's Wallace's greatest invention yet. Hey guys, this is AniMat, and I want to start things off by giving out a huge thanks to Alan Oliva, whose amazing support on Patreon allowed him to get some amazing rewards, including this one, where he got to request me to review Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And I could not be more happier that he did so, because I love this movie. It's been a little while since I've seen it, but now revisiting it, it was an absolute blast, and as you could probably tell from the review, I absolutely love this movie. It's a great time. I highly recommend that you go and watch it. It's just a lot of fun. So I am definitely in a good mood after watching this movie, after reviewing it. So definitely a great time all around with the entire creation of this review, or the whole process of making it. So again, thank you so much, Alan, for requesting me that one, because I adore this movie and I'll definitely be rewatching it soon, if ever I'm in the mood for like a really, really good time. Which, well, I mean, who doesn't want a really good time? But anyways, now that we are done with that, it is now time that we shall go and move on to the animation hat. And before I continue, I would like to go and start off by saying that if you guys would like to be like Alan and you want to go and get some amazing rewards, including but not limited to seeing my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. But at the same time, if you guys would like an animated film you would like me to review and that I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Alright, so, you know, the sad thing about it is that whatever it is I got right here, it might go downhill, because it's going to be hard to be, like, at least on the same level as Wallace and Gromit, or, well, with Curse of the Were-Rabbit. But anyways, the next review shall now be... Oh, this is a small paper. Oh, okay, well, never mind what I said, because, oh, this is another highly beloved feature, okay.
I really got a good thing going again and again and again. All right, this is great. This is great. And I've always meant to watch this one, you know, because I have previously seen movies from this filmmaker before, and he's done a lot of weird stuff, a lot of freaky stuff, but apparently when it comes to this one, this might be one of his more tender movies, or at least the one that is the most heartfelt. So this is going to be a very interesting watch, and probably one that is well needed for me, because like this is a highly recommended movie to go and check out. So at least with this review, it'll be my moment to do so.
Cheese!